continue. Welcome, everyone. We are coming at you from the Sam and Carmina Goss Library in Mont Belvieu. And today we have Mr. Robert and Miss Jennie from Zoomagination in San Antonio. They're here with us today, and they're going to be sharing some animals that they have and telling us about them. So if you have any questions that you want them to answer, you can put them in the questions chat and we will ask them for you. Also wanted to just remind you, this is the last week for summer reading for you to log your time, so you have until Saturday to do that. And so we hope you enjoy the show. We thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to hand it over to Jennie and Robert.
All right. All right. Hi, everybody. We're so glad to be here and coming live into your homes or wherever you are watching this. We're very excited to be doing that. I'm Robert. This is Jennie. We started together. We started Zoomagination about 13, 14 years ago with the idea that we wanted to teach people about wildlife. We wanted to teach people about conservation and also about responsible pet ownership. And the reason why that's an important one is because a lot of the animals that we have under our care started off as somebody else's pets. Whether it was an exotic bird or an exotic reptile or any kind of an animal that's not your typical dog and cat. Occasionally, people do get into a little bit of trouble, or maybe it's not an animal that they really know how to take care of, and so they are looking to find a new home. And so if we're able to provide them with a safe home and an environment that they can thrive in, then we are more than happy to be able to take care of them and train them. So then our job is then to travel to surrounding cities, and we go to schools and we do special events and we do hospital visits and we do all kinds of animal encounters with these. But lately, of course, because of everything that's been going on and everybody's kind of stuck inside, we wanted to bring this to you. And so today we do have some animals that we are so excited to share with you. Not all of these were exotic pets. Some of them were animals that were also rescued, meaning that they were injured in the wild for one reason or the other, or maybe they got into a situation where they needed to be helped. And in some cases, these animals cannot be released back into the wild for one reason or the other. And so then they also need a home to call forever. And that's where we step in, where we can come in, we can provide them with a home for the rest of their lives. And so our job, again, is to teach people about those animals. And we're so excited to share this with you. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, we are more than happy to answer your questions, and I think you'll enjoy what we have to offer. So we're gonna start here in just a second. We're gonna get ready here. I'm gonna get our first animal, and this is this one is our littlest animal that we were gonna bring out. So I'm gonna get her situated. It's gonna take me just a second. This is an animal that a lot of people may not see because they are hard to find in the wild, because they hide very, very well. Let me get her going here. I just have to adjust her a little bit here. She is also waking up. I have to wake her up a little bit. All right, here she comes. All right. Now, for those of you who know what this is, I'm sure you're guessing right now, you know what this is. This is a little tiny owl. I got to fix her wings a little bit. Her name is Athena. Athena is a very small owl. She is known as a screech owl. She is one of the smallest owls in the world. They're found all over North America. She's 5 years old. She weighs about 4 ounces, so that's not a lot. She's very, very light. This is full grown. A lot of people think when we first bring her out that they think she's a baby owl, but she's not a baby. She's full grown. When I said earlier that it's hard to find these owls in the wild, it is very difficult to see them in the wild because they blend in so well to the surrounding areas. Now, you all know what that means when they can blend in and can be seen. I know you're probably taking a guess there, but it is called camouflage. And the camouflage is what is helping her hide in the wild. So that's why they're so hard to find. Now, Athena is an animal that had to be rescued. Now, the reason why she was rescued is because somebody found her down in Corpus Christi. She was just an itty bitty little thing. They found her in their backyard. She was in a bush. So when they saw her moving around, somebody thought it was just a sparrow or some type of a bird that maybe got caught in a bush. So when they went to get her out, they realized that it was a bird, but they also realized that it was a little owl. And what they learned was that she had hurt her eye. Now, we don't know how she hurt her eye, but when they took her down to a veterinarian, an animal doctor down there, he was able to see that her eye was almost gone. She had hurt her eye so bad that she couldn't see out of the eye anymore. It wasn't working the way it's supposed to. So they had to take her to the animal hospital down there, and they had to fix her eye. They had to close it because she didn't have an eye anymore. Now, that is the reason why we have her in our care. She can see really good with one eye. She can still see very good with one eye. She can still hunt for food. She can fly around. The only thing she can't do, she cannot see predators coming from the right side. Now, you all know what a predator is. A predator is an animal that eats other animals. She is a predator herself, but she's a small predator. But her biggest predator is the great horned owl. So if she's sitting there in the wild and she's perched in a tree, just sitting there minding her own business, she can't see anything coming from the right side because she doesn't have an eye. So her predators can easily come up to her. As you can see, I'm kind of putting my hand next to her. She has no idea that my hand is there. She has no idea that my hand is there. So that is why they felt she would not be a good owl to release into the wild, because she wouldn't live very long. So under our care, she's going to live a long and healthy and a safe life under our care. And that's the only reason why we have her. Now, these owls are found all over North America. Like I said, they're all over the area. You have your eastern screech owls and you have your western screech owls. The western screech owls are a little bit different color, but they look identical as Athena here. Now, you've noticed as I'm holding her, you've noticed how she has rotated her head. A lot of people think that owls can rotate their head all the way around. Now, imagine if that were really the case. Don't you think their heads would fall off if they could turn the head all the way around? Well, it looks like it is almost all the way around. It is 270 degrees. Now, that almost looks like all the way around. Now, let me demonstrate what that looks like. Right now, she's kind of looking to the right, or to your left. Now she's looking back at me. I'm going to touch her right shoulder very gently. You see how she's turning her head? She's looking to see who's touching her. And now I'm going to touch her again on the left side. And let's see how she turns her head. Now she's looking back at me. It looks a little weird, doesn't it? Well, there's a reason for this. There's a couple of reasons why this happens. First of all, let's talk about how her neck is able to do this. You and I have 7 vertebrae in our neck. We have 7 bones that allow us to look to the right or look to the left. Now, if you turn all the way as far as you can go on each side, those are your 7 bones that are turning. Well, Athena has 14. So imagine if you have 7 more bones, and you can go a little bit further to see. That's how she's able to physically do it. But there's a reason for this, and it's because of their eyes. Now, you and I, if we look straight ahead and didn't move our head, but we can move our eyes up and down and side to side and all the way around, we can do that without moving our head. Well, she can't. And the reason why is because owls' eyes are huge. They're big. They're so big that they take up most of the space in their skull. So her eyes are locked. So if she needed to see something to the right, she has to turn her entire head like this. Or if she wanted to look to the left, she has to go like this. She can't just look to the left or look to the right like you and I can. So that's why it is important for an owl to rotate their head almost all the way around. Now we're going to get you a little close-up view here. We're going to change the camera just a little bit so you can get a better view of her. I'm going to see if she'll look into that camera there. She is still looking at me right now, but let's see if I can turn her head a little bit there. Huh? You see how she rotated her head a little bit? If we can get her to look at the camera, you can see how her eye is just big compared to her. Let's see if she can rotate her head a little bit. There. She keeps turning her head. Now, owls' faces are different than a hawk or an eagle. They look flat, and there's a reason why they look flat. And the reason why is because of their feathers on their face. There's a reason for this. Because first of all, owls are nocturnal. They are nighttime hunters. They can see during the day just as good as you and I can. They can see during the day. It doesn't bother their eyes. It doesn't hurt their eyes. But they are night hunters. They are designed for hunting at night. And the reason why is because they can see in the dark. They have night vision. But even having night vision, it is dark outside. So it's important that they also have really good hearing. Owls have amazing hearing. They can see, they can hear things that you and I cannot hear. Underneath these little ear tufts on the top of her head, they look like little pointed type ears. Underneath those ears are her actual ears. They're underneath all the feathers. You can't really see them. But her ears are openings. They're not like holes like you and I do, or like other birds. They're just slits. They're just like big giant caves on the side of her head. Now, it helps her to hear better because her face is flat. Imagine a plate like a bowl, and if you yell into the bowl, it just kind of echoes more. Well, the owl's face is flat because of the feathers. If you were to kind of brush her feathers back, then she would look more like a normal hawk or an eagle. But the feathers make her face look flat. Once that sound hits her face, then the sound is directed to her ears. And then once it's directed to her ears, then she can hear where the sound is coming from. And then when she knows where it's coming from, then she then looks to see what is making that sound. And then she can see if it's something she might want to eat. Now, we did say she was a bird of prey. She is a bird of prey. She is a predator, but she's a small predator. So you might wonder what she likes to eat. Well, we do give her little pieces of meat. We cut up pieces of meat, which she loves meat, but she is a carnivore, so she's a meat eater. But she doesn't eat just meat. In the natural environment, she eats insects. She likes to eat bugs. That's all she loves. She loves grasshoppers. She likes cockroaches and those creepy crawlies and crickets, and she loves to eat those bugs. And that is so important because there are animals like this that eat bugs in the wild. And that's their food, that's their diet. You've also noticed she's kind of sitting on my hand right there. She's got very sharp talons. Those are called talons on her feet. Very sharp talons, which is what she uses to grab her bugs and her insects. Now, right now, I've got a special little tiny rope that we have just around her ankles. And the reason why we have that is because whenever we take her out on programs or special events like this, she has to have those, otherwise she might fly away. Now, she can still fly. The thing is, though, is that, remember, she has to be protected. So whenever we take her back to where she lives, she's got a big area where she flies around. We take all this off, and then she can fly around and do owl things. But whenever we do a presentation like this, it's important that we keep her safe on our hand, and that's why we have that. Now, the other thing about owls is how they communicate with each other. Owls have different sounds. When people ask you to make an owl sound, in most cases they go hoo, hoo, which is a very good owl sound. But owls have different sounds, all kinds of different sounds. And there's different species of owls that makes different sounds. The screech owl sounds a lot different than a hoo hoo owl. She almost sounds like a little bug in the woods. It's kind of a little sound like that. So she has that sound. So whenever you go outside and you're hearing that, that's a good chance that it's a screech owl and you don't even know it because they look so much like the trees there. And I turn around and you can see the back of her feathers there. You can see her feathers. She looks a lot like an oak tree. Well, when they're sleeping during the day, she looks like part of the tree. So they have really good camouflage, which help her to blend in to the environment, which is also what keeps her safe. So a very sweet little animal. Like again, she's 5 years old, but they can live to be 20 years of age. And so and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but Athena is the goddess of wisdom, and she has an owl that she loves to carry around because that's why we named her Athena there. All right, so let me put her away. Do we have any questions? We do have any questions? We don't have any questions in.
We can't hear you.
Oh, we can't hear. There's Yoli. We can't hear Yoli.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
We have a question. How loud is their screech?
It is not as loud as you think. It's not as loud. It can be heard, but it's not. It doesn't hurt your ears. It doesn't hurt your ears. So if you do hear it, it's almost like something you kind of have to think of, but what was that? What was that little sound? So, but it's not very loud.
Okay.
So, all right. All right, any other questions?
No, not at this point.
All right, now we're gonna bring out some reptiles. This is one of my favorites right here. Now this reptile, this one came to us from another organization, and this one is a really cool reptile. You guys gotta know exactly what this is there. I know a lot of you are making a guess. What do you think this is? This is an alligator, everybody. It's an American alligator. His name is Bayou. Now, at first glance, of course, people say, oh, it's a crocodile, it's an alligator. Well, they look very similar. Yes, they're in the same family, but crocodiles are found in different parts of the world. Alligators, like this one here, are found in the southeastern part of the United States. That's the only place in the world you can find them. They range anywhere from like Houston area down in Texas down to Florida, Everglades, and that's when they can be found. Now this little one is 11 months old. He's young. He doesn't need to be with his mom anymore, but he is a young alligator, and he is still growing. When he gets full grown, he is going to be about 10 feet long, and he's going to weigh 350 pounds. He's going to be a big animal. Now, right now, we're able to hold him because he's little. He's tiny. He's kind of moving around a little bit, but once here in a second, he's going to kind of get more comfortable there. We've been working with Bayou since he was a little younger. Now, this is an animal that it was a rescue, just like Athena. Somebody had taken him when he was a baby. They took him from his pond in Houston, and him and his little brother, and they took him and they tried to keep him as pets in their house, and they weren't supposed to. That's against the law. You can't do that. So they were afraid of that. So they realized that they had made a mistake. So they had to take him to a Texas Parks and Wildlife facility down in the Houston area. But here's the thing: they could not release them back into the wild because they were too little. And they were afraid because they were so little, because when they took them away from the pond, they took them away from their mom, and who was still in the air to protect them. And so they were afraid they were going to release them back into the wild, that there's a good chance that they would be preyed upon by bigger predators. So they needed to keep them at a facility. So they asked us to take care of them at our area. So once they get bigger, we are going to build them a big pond. They're going to live on our facility. They're going to have a big area, a big pond where they can grow up and be big alligators there. But right now they're small enough that we can actually take them into classrooms and we can work with them. The thing about alligators, a lot of people don't realize, is that they are very smart. They're intelligent reptiles. They have good memories. So working with them is very important, that we actually work with them every day, because they get used to being taken care of. They get used to being picked up and handled. As you can see, that's what I'm able to do with Bayou right here. Now, I know a lot of you like dinosaurs. Reading books about dinosaurs. You all love to see movies about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are pretty cool. Well, what if I told you that you are looking at a living dinosaur? Would you believe that if I told you looking at a living dinosaur? That's what alligators and crocodiles are. They're living dinosaurs. Now let me explain what that means. During the time of the dinosaurs, when they were walking around the earth, which was millions and millions of years ago, there were alligators and crocodiles walking around with them. And they looked just like this. They're the same size when they were babies and same size when they were full grown. But when dinosaurs went extinct, alligators did not. They survived. They were able to survive. And so then, once they survived, they continued to live out here in the world with us. And they haven't changed at all. So if you wanted to see what it was like to see an alligator millions of years ago, this is what they looked like. So that's a really cool story about these guys. Alligators make very good moms. I know you might think, how do they make good moms? Well, when it's time for a female alligator to lay her eggs, she leaves the water, she climbs out to the dirt area near the water, she digs a hole, and then she lays her eggs in the hole. And then she buries them. And then once that happens, she sits by the nest and she protects the nest. So if any potential predators come by, she just runs them off. Now, when it's time for the babies to hatch, once they hatch out of the egg, they start making these little high-pitched calling sounds. When that happens, she can hear them, and then she digs out the babies. And once the babies start climbing out, she then puts the babies in her mouth. Now, don't worry, she's not going to eat them. What she does then, she takes them down to the water, and she lets them go. And then she comes back and picks up another load of babies, and then she goes back. And she keeps doing that. But the babies hang out near the water's edge where all the little roots of the bushes that surround the edges of the river, they hide under those areas, and then she hangs out with them in the water. She doesn't feed them. She doesn't give them milk. Remember, they are reptiles, so as soon as they're hatched, they are ready to be on their own. Now, when they're babies, they might prey on small, tiny fish, maybe some bugs that might go onto the water's edge. But she'll hang out with them until they are big enough to be on their own. Once they're on their own, they will then leave mom and go on about their business. So when they found Bayou on the water's edge, he was probably just hatched. So he was just an itty bitty little baby. People ask him, well, how big he is now. He's probably a little more than 2 feet long, but he's going to get bigger. He's going to continue getting bigger. And so they grow. They can grow slowly. They can grow quickly. It just depends on how much food they eat. The other thing about the alligators and crocodiles is that they are actually very fast underwater. They spend most of their life in the water because that's how they sneak up on their prey. But they're air breathers. So if they come out of the water, they don't have to be in the water. So right now, he doesn't have to be in the water. He doesn't need it because he can breathe air. And that's why a lot of times you'll see alligators sitting on the side of the water. They're just kind of out on the dirt, just kind of sunning themselves and getting some sun. They are reptiles. They also shed their skin like snakes do and other lizards. So they just shed their skin differently. It doesn't come off like a snake skin. It also, their skin peels, kind of like whenever you get a sunburn or something, or your skin is dry and it kind of peels. That's what happens with these guys, though. But they eat just about anything. Their diet is mainly fish out in when they're swimming in the water. They eat mostly fish, but they can eat other small animals as well. Anything they can catch when it comes to them. Now, one of the other things about the people ask us all the time is the difference between alligators and crocodiles. Now, I'm going to get a closer look. We're going to switch the camera for just a second here. So I'm going to get you a closer look to his little head there. There we go. Here's a little closer look there. Now, it's hard. You may or may not be able to see his teeth. You see his teeth there underneath the bottom of his mouth. They're the tiny little teeth. Well, one of the differences between alligators and crocodiles is that when an alligator closes its mouth, you only see the top row of teeth. When a crocodile closes its mouth, you see both sets of teeth, the top and the bottom. The other thing, too, is that there's the shape of their mouth. Now, Bayou's mouth is kind of shaped almost like a U. It's kind of hard to see that, but it's kind of shaped like a U, where a crocodile is more of a V-shaped mouth. So that's another big difference. And the other differences, of course, is where they're located in the world. You have your saltwater crocodiles, you have your Nile crocodiles, and then you've got your alligators. The other thing, it's kind of hard to see, but around the bottom of his jaw, there's a bunch of little black spots. It almost looks like peppers. The little pepper spots on his jaw down here. Those are sensory organs. Those pick up vibrations in the water. So if an animal is drinking water, the vibrations hit their mouth and they know exactly which way to turn. Crocodiles have those spots all over their body. So they have a little bit more sensitivity on their skin than alligators do. So those are the big major differences between the species of alligators and crocodiles. So I love talking about these guys. So does anybody have any questions about the alligators or crocodiles?
We do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So how many alligators do y'all have? Do y'all just have the 2?
We had just the 2 alligators, yes.
And I heard that you said that they eat fish and stuff when they're in the wild, but at your house, what do y'all feed them?
We give them fish as well. We give them like fish you might buy at a seafood market or something like that. So they get fish that's healthy enough for humans to eat. So they get nothing but restaurant quality fish. And they eat pieces of meat as well. So yeah, so we feed them pretty good down there at our facility.
And one more, how many eggs do they lay at a time, the moms?
They can lay about 25 to 30 eggs.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of eggs. So, and the thing is that once they hatch their eggs, unfortunately, mom, it's hard for mom to keep track of all the babies. But she has to be very protective, because occasionally some predators will come and take a baby or two. But they're pretty good. Mom is very protective. Nobody wants to mess with mama alligator. So, all right, those are good questions. All right, so we've got another reptile that we are excited to bring. This is, of course, everybody's favorite reptile. This, everybody, is a snake. Whoa, look at that. I don't know where his head is. Where's his little head? There's his little head right here on top. So everybody, this here is known as a ball python. His name is Cairo, and there's his little head right there. There's his little tiny head. There you go. He's going to wake up a little bit. But this is a ball python. They are from Africa. This is a small type of constrictor, meaning he doesn't have venom, but he does squeeze his prey. And that's how he catches his food. They've got lots of little tiny teeth, and they use those teeth to catch their prey. Now we're going to switch the camera angle real quick, because you'll get a better view of Cairo here. Let's see if I can turn him around a little bit there. And we'll get the camera just a little bit. There we go. Now you can see his little head there. Get a better view of the head there on the camera there. Now Cairo is about 12 years old. There's his head right there. You can see his little tongue sticking out. He's 12 years old. He's about 4.5 feet long. He's full grown. He's not going to get any bigger. Snakes like Cairo love to eat small rats and mice. That is their job in the wild. They are one of Mother Nature's rodent control. They help us control rats and mice. The reason why that is so important to know is because if we didn't have snakes, we would have a lot more rats. So snakes are an animal that, yes, they can be dangerous. They can bite. We do have there's venomous snakes in the areas. But as long as you know what you're looking for, and if you're careful when you're out playing in the grass or out in the park, you want to stay on an area where there's not a lot of tall grasses or playing in the bushes, because a lot of times that's where snakes like to hide, especially during the summer when it's really hot. They like to stay inside the shaded areas and stay cool, and because they like to come out at night. Now you might have seen how he's sticking his tongue out. Some of you may or may not know what he's doing when he's sticking his tongue out. But when he's sticking his tongue out, he is smelling. That's how they smell the air. They stick their tongue out, they catch air particles with their tongue, and then their brain tells them what they're smelling. And that's how they smell. They stick their tongue out. They do have nostrils, which they use to breathe, but that tongue is really how they smell. That's their nose, so more or less. The snakes don't have eyelids. They don't have eyelids. They do have a scale over their eye. It's much like swimming goggles. So whenever you go swimming and you're wearing swimming goggles, that's what it looks like for a snake. They have those special scales that protect their eyes from any dirt or any kind of thing like that. They also don't have ears like you and I do. So their ears, they're internal ears, but they are not developed. So they don't hear the way you and I do. Now he's kind of moving around a little bit. There he is. And you can see how he moves around there, how easy it is for him to move around. He doesn't have legs, but they have the ability to move quickly on the ground because they slither, and they have the scales underneath their body. They have these special scales called scutes. Now those scutes are longer scales this way. They're longer this way, so it's almost like a tractor tire. So when they're on the ground or on this tabletop, every time he moves, it's kind of like they move forward and they pull back. So that's how they project themselves. That's how they move themselves forward. But they also use their muscles to do that. They have a lot of muscles in their body, very strong, which is what allows them to squeeze their prey, very strong. So let's say he catches a rat. He catches them with his tiny little teeth. We've got tiny little teeth in their mouth. They're shaped like a fish hook. And so whenever they catch their prey, the prey is caught in their mouth, kind of like a trap. And then the rat can't get away. So then the snake wraps its body around, Now the rat can't breathe and he suffocates. And once that happens, well, then he lets go and then he swallows the rat whole. He doesn't chew his rat. Now he is also able to eat rats that are 5 times bigger than his head. If you and I could do the exact same thing, imagine eating a watermelon with one swallow, an entire watermelon. So that's kind of how snakes are able to do that. They can unhook their lower jaw, which is what allows them to eat things that are bigger than their head. Now this one is 12 years old. They can live about 25 to 30 years. So they have a long lifespan. And they're found in Africa, but this is an African snake. But out in our own backyard, in your backyard or wherever you go, you might encounter a garden snake or a rat snake. They're everywhere. But again, they do the same thing. The rats, the snakes that live here control the rats in this area. The snakes that live in Africa control the rats in Africa. So if you do ever see a snake, we always encourage people to not to try to hurt the snake. You don't want to hurt the snake. If you see a snake in your backyard, please don't try to pick it up. Don't handle it. Don't hurt it. You can call somebody. There's a lot of people you can call to help you get the snake out of your backyard if you're afraid of it. But snakes are important. You just have to make sure you give them their space and you leave them alone, because otherwise they can bite too. And you don't want to get bit by a snake because they can bite hard. So, okay, we're gonna put the snake away. Does anybody have any questions about Cairo?
Well, we do have a couple of snake questions.
All right.
Are the teeth sharp?
Yes, they are very sharp. It's almost like if you can imagine a hook, like a fish hook. They're very, very sharp. They're not very strong teeth. They can break very easily, almost like glass. So they're very fragile. They're very, but they're very sharp. So it's kind of designed to catch the prey. So again, they don't have the strength to chew, but they can catch. So if you picture almost like a Venus flytrap or anything like that matter, so then you can kind of see that. So, okay, any other questions?
Does it shed its skin? And then also how often does it shed it, if it does?
It does. They shed their skin every 2 to 3 months. And when they shed their skin, it's from the tip of their nose all the way to the tail. It comes off in one piece. So they do every 3 months or so. It's usually when they shed their skin. That means they're continuously growing. So that's just, they're always growing. All reptiles never stop growing.
And one more, and I'm not sure if this was for the snake or for the alligator, but maybe you can answer for both. Is their skin rough or slick?
It's smooth. So it's not slimy. It looks, some of them look slimy because they're shiny, but it's not. It's almost like if you're touching an old basketball or a rubber tire. But they can be very smooth too. So same thing with the alligators. When you touch the alligator's scales are smooth, the snakes are smooth. Some snakes, depending on the species, they may have, their scales might be a little bit more rough, but they're not slimy. So that's one thing. A lot of people think they're slimy because they're shiny. So, okay. Ready for another one?
Yes.
I hope I don't run out of time here, but I'd like to go through this, especially this animal here. Everybody, this is a very cool animal. I'm going to get a little closer here. We're going to show you an animal that a lot of people are always surprised when they see. Can you guys tell me what this is? Everybody, this is Osa. And Osa is a two-toed sloth. Now she's starting to wake up a little bit. She's making her way out of the kennel. This is a kennel. It's a special kennel that we made for her. Whenever we travel with Osa, we travel in a very special kennel because she likes to sleep upside down. So right now she is hanging on some sticks here. I have a little piece of food here. Let's see if she turns around. I've got a little piece of food here. This is sweet potato. She loves sweet potato. You can kind of see her chewing her food right there. We're going to see if we can get her to come out just a little bit. Hi, Osa. Here she comes. Let me try to work the camera there. Now, when she comes out, you're going to see her claws coming out of their kennel. Let me see if I can. Right here, Osa. They sleep about 18 hours a day, everybody. The sloths are very, very sleepy. And so they have to sleep to conserve energy. They have to sleep to conserve energy. So they're also very slow. So whenever we are working with Osa there, we just have to remember that she is a very slow animal there. Now she's starting to come out a little bit. Now we have a stick here that's above her kennel, and we're going to see if we can get her to come out. There's her first claw. You can see her 2 claws up there. Can you show her claws, Jenny, up there on top? See, those are her claws there. Now, you see there's 2 claws here. That's how you know she's a 2-toed sloth. Now, she does have 3 claws on her back legs, but she is a 2-toed sloth. You have to look at her front legs to know that she is a 2-toed sloth. Now she's starting to wake up a little bit. We're going to see if we can get her a little further out. The sloths are from South America. They spend their entire lives hanging from the trees in South America. That's why they're always upside down. They're designed to be upside down, almost like hanging from your coat hanger in your closet there. So they are slow. They are from South America, and they're known as the slowest moving mammal on the planet. So you can see how she's looking at me upside down. A lot of people think, does she see upside down? But she does. She actually sees us. She might be thinking that we're upside down because, and of course, her life, she's always upside down. Sloths can't walk on the ground. If we put her on the ground, she would just lay flat on her stomach. So they can crawl to get from one place to the other, but they can also swim, but they can't walk. So even if they get into the water, they can do like a little doggy paddle, which then helps her get from one place to the other in the water. Now, while they're traveling through the trees upside down, they're also using their nose to smell the branches that they're climbing on. They have a really good sense of smell. So she smells the carrots. She smells the sweet potato. There we go. She's starting to come out just a little bit there. And then you might be able to see her tongue when she grabs the carrot there, and you can kind of see her teeth. They have sharp teeth, very sharp teeth, which they use to rip up the leaves that they eat. They are mostly leaf eaters. That is also why they're so slow. If you ate leaves all day and nothing else, you would move as slow as a sloth. Now we do give her vegetables, we do give her fruit. She likes nuts, she likes hard-boiled eggs. So she has a little bit more energy in her food, which makes her move a little faster, not much more, but a little faster there. Now sloths are interesting because they look a lot like the rainforest. If you look at her hair, it looks a lot like the bark of a tree. But even in the rainforest, even though she's climbing through the trees, she can still blend in because moss and algae grows on her hair. It actually helps her blend in. She begins to look like part of the tree. And if you were to stick your nose up to Sienna and try to smell her, she doesn't smell. They don't have an odor, but they are like a sponge. Have you ever squeezed a sponge and then sucked in all that water? Well, sloths are a lot like sponges, that they actually absorb the smell of the jungle. So if we were to put her in a pine tree, then she would smell like a pine tree. So if you put her in an area with a lot of flowers, then she would smell like a flower. There's a 2 toes right there. You can see her 2 toes. See how she reached out for the camera? That's how they do things. They like to reach out and grab. So right now, she might be even getting a little sleepy right now. Did you see how shiny her nose was on that camera? So they have a very shiny nose. It's kind of like a dog's nose. She's going back in her kennel there. Oh, she might even fall asleep like that. Now her back legs have 3 claws, but her front legs have 2. Now she does have a cousin, which is the 3-toed sloth. Have you seen the movie Zootopia? Well, that sloth in the movie, his name is Flash. He is a 3-toed sloth, and he is active during the day. 3-toed sloths are active during the day. Osa here, they are active at night, so she is nocturnal. Now her 2 biggest predators are the jaguar and the harpy eagle. Those are the 2 biggest predators of a sloth. So how does she protect herself? Well, just like I told you, she has to hide. They don't smell, so you can't smell them, you can't see them. So they actually camouflage themselves very, very well. They're very good at playing hide and go seek. They can hide from their predators very easily. Now you've seen all this time that she's been upside down. You might think it's hurting her arms. You might think, wow, she's doing a lot of muscle. Not at all. They actually don't have a lot of muscles in their bodies. What's happening is that her arms are locked. They're just locked in place, and that is what helps her stay in place there. So that's why these sloths they're so neat. They love to be in South America. They spend the time sleeping during the day. We're gonna put her back to let her go back to sleep there. We're gonna see if we can get her to go back. We got one more. I know we're running out of time. Are we still okay on time? We're doing okay. We've got one little animal there. But in the meantime, while we're getting to that, does anybody have any questions about OSA while we're doing this?
We do have sloth questions.
Okay.
How strong is she?
They have a lot of strength. When they pull, they can pull a lot of, they're very strong, but it's not because they're muscle. They don't have a lot of muscles. It's because their tendons, they're very tight. So they pull and they lock and they can still do that. So they have a lot of strength in that.
And how coarse is their hair?
Well, it depends on the humidity. So sometimes her hair can be very coarse, kind of wiry, but then there are days where you touch her and it's soft. So it just depends on the day, I guess.
And do sloths bite?
Yes, they can bite. They have very sharp teeth. They have some of the sharpest teeth of any animal in the world. They don't have their first 4 teeth. They're born without their first 4 teeth, but they do have those very sharp incisors. And they do have their molars in the back, which they use to chew the leaves, but they do have very sharp teeth.
How tall or long is she?
Well, she is about the size of, I guess you would say she's about the size of a small dog. Not much bigger than that, maybe a little medium-sized dog. And as far as how much they weigh, it really depends on the day of the week. And the reason why I say that is because they only go to the bathroom once a week.
Wow. So
right before she goes to the bathroom, she's heavy. And then after she goes to the bathroom, she can lose about 8 pounds.
Wow.
So, and then when they go to the bathroom, they climb to the bottom of the tree and they go to the bathroom, the bottom of the tree.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One more question. You talk about how she's really slow. What if you just reached in there and grabbed her? Like, what if you didn't want to wait? What if you got impatient?
I know, right? Well, it depends on how she feels. But, the thing about the sloths is that that's their world. They're so slow. So if you try to move fast, they're going to feel a little uncomfortable. They're going to ask themselves, what's going on? Why are you guys moving so quickly? We can occasionally, we've had to move her around a little bit from time to time. We just have to kind of do it a little slower. Sometimes we can move her and we need to pick her up so that she's okay with that. But it's also, this is her second program. So little by little, she'll get more comfortable. But since they move so slow, I guess we have to go slow too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those were all the questions that we had for this law.
All right, we got one more real quick. We're gonna share this one. This is one of my favorites, and you might think, oh no, but here she is. We're gonna get her on this table here. All right, there we go. Let me get her up here a little bit. Look at this, everybody. What is this? A lot of people think it's a big rat. It's a big mouse. I know that's what it looks like sometimes. But this is not a mouse or a rat. It's an opossum. Her name is Poppy. Poppy is a 4-year-old female opossum. She was rescued. She was found on the side of the road. Poor little thing. She was a little itty bitty baby. We think she lost her mom when she was a baby. And so she had trouble with her eyes. She had an infection in her eyes, so she couldn't see. So we took her to the doctor and he gave her some special drops, which made her eyes better. But because of all that care that we gave her, she got so used to being around people. So she wasn't afraid of people. And when it comes to these kind of animals, that if they see a person, it's better for the animal and it's better for the person, for the animal to run away. Because they're afraid of people, and that's a good thing, because if you get people and animals like that together, then somebody might get bit or the animal might get hurt. And so they thought it would be a good idea to keep her in our program for as long as she lives. So sloths don't live very long. Her life expectancy is about 5 years. So she's about almost there. She's almost there. She's about 4 years old now. Yeah. Oh, sloths. I'm sorry. Possums. Now the thing about opossums, let's do this real quickly here, is that even though they look like a rat, they're not a rat. They are actually in the kangaroo family. They're marsupials. Opossums have a pouch. The females have a pouch, and they love to climb trees. They don't hop like a kangaroo, but they do climb around trees with their tail. They use their tail to help them climb through the trees. They can eat just about anything. They like to eat leftovers from your trash can. They like to eat all kinds of vegetables and bugs, but their favorite food are ticks. That's why they're so important to have around, because a possum can eat 5,000 ticks in 1 year. And ticks can make people very sick. So that's why it's good to have opossums. The other thing about opossums is that if a rattlesnake bites an opossum, the rattlesnake venom doesn't affect the possum. It doesn't make them sick. They're immune to venom. And they're immune to rabies. So if an animal that has rabies bites an opossum, the opossum doesn't get rabies. So whenever people see an opossum in their backyard, they think, oh no, we can't get too close because if they bite us, they might give us rabies. Not at all. They don't carry rabies. But they can bite. They do have a lot of teeth. They have more teeth in their mouth than any other mammal on Earth. Land mammal. The only other mammal that has more teeth is a whale. But opossums have 50 teeth in their mouth, and they're very sharp. And they use, of course, their teeth to eat all their types of food that they love to eat there. They also have opposable thumbs on their back feet. They have little thumbs which help them climb through the trees there. Now we just woke her up too. She's a nocturnal animal. She does occasionally she'll eat grapes and blueberries. Right now we're giving her a little. She's not really. We just woke her up, so she is nocturnal. But they sleep all day, and at night when everybody goes to sleep, that's when opossums like to come out and look for food. They don't make a sound. They're very quiet animals, and when they walk, they're very quiet. When they walk through the grass, but they also don't see very well. But they don't have to see very well because they do have an incredible sense of smell, and they have really good hearing, which allows them to find their food. So this is an animal, of course, that is found all over the North America. This one, of course, was found in Waco, Texas, when she was a little bitty baby. So they are an animal that is protected by Texas Parks and Wildlife. You have to make sure that if you see an animal like this in your backyard, you don't want to keep them as a pet. They do need to be out in the wild. So if you see one and it needs help, it's best to take it to a wildlife rehabilitation center where they will care for it until they can release it. And that is really what we want them to do. So unfortunately, Poppy could not be released because she got used, like I said, she got used to being around people. So whenever she sees somebody, she runs towards them. She's like, oh, where's my food? And so if you're sitting in your backyard and an opossum starts coming after you, you're going to run the other way. So that's why we have her under our care. So anyways, so that is our opossum. Does anybody have any questions?
Do they smell?
They can. But it's not their fault because they get into trash cans. So they can get a little stinky. But they also have the ability to play dead. And when they play dead, they look like a dead animal. They also begin to smell like a dead animal. Mm. And so if you smell a stinky sloth, that means he probably just finished playing dead. Uh-oh, possum. He saying sloth, I'm sorry.
Do their ears have hair on them?
No, it's just skin. It's just like little skin, little tiny. Yeah, so they're very thin earlobes, but again, they have really good sense of hearing.
And then why do the babies hang on the mom?
Well, when they're born, they're about the size of a jelly bean. And they don't have hair. They're born without eyes, without a tail, without hair, without a nose. Without ears and eyes. So they're helpless. So once they stay in mom's pouch. Once they are old enough, which is teeny tiny, about 3 months old, then they climb onto mom's back and they hang on to her so she could teach them about food. And so she walks around, she grabs food, she lets them smell it, and then once they start eating on their own, then they climb off of her back and they're on their own, which is at about 5 months.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then how many babies does the mom have and carry at a time? How many?
She can carry up to 10 to 12 babies.
Wow.
That's a lot of babies. Yeah. Yeah. And so they hang on to, poor mom has to carry them everywhere she goes. Yeah. I've seen pictures of moms with their babies and they're covering her back. And so, but she's a good mom. She takes care of them. So, any other questions?
That was all the questions about the opossum.
All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. We love doing this. So it was so nice to have everybody come out and tune into our program. And thank you all so much for inviting us to come out to be a part of all this with y'all.
We appreciate y'all coming out or tuning in as well. And I thought it was very informative. I learned several things that I didn't know. So, and I hope our viewers did as well.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. If y'all want to learn more about what we do at Zoomagination, we do have a website. We do have, you can see some other animals, some pictures on our website. So we invite everybody to tune into that or look into that to see what we have. Thank you all so much.
Well, thank you, Jenny and Robert. We appreciate y'all taking the time out to be with us today. And we hope that y'all stay safe and well and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.